Hey guys, Wally here. Wow, this is my first video on politics ever on YouTube, and this is probably going to be the most public I am about any political opinions of mine, even though this video isn't really necessarily me sharing my political opinions, but just simply just telling you something that I find to be absolutely abhorrent. But before I start, I want to preface it by saying that I am an advocate against political correctness and against identity politics. And it has seemed like ever since the election of Donald Trump and his shockingly, in my opinion, shockingly good track record that he has as a president in terms of the economy, in terms of foreign affairs, and in terms of in terms of border security. He's done a pretty good job, despite literally the entire media and the entire Democrat base, or at least an uncomfortably overwhelming part of the Democratic base, deciding to kind of go against him at every single turn. And with that being said, I hate to say it, but it's gone too far. This anti-conservative, anti-Trump, anti-Republican attitude that a lot of young people my age have decided to adopt has gone too far. And this is coming from a person who identifies as a liberal. This is insane. And I'm not exactly sure what the political views and political positions that my 10 subscribers have, but you have to be insane to support Antifa. I'm just going to straight out say it. You have to be insane to support not only what is considered a terrorist organization by my personal opinion and by a lot of other people's personal opinion, not only by a lot of people's personal opinions, and not only by definition due to their actions, but literally the FBI regards Antifa as a terrorist organization, as a domestic terrorist organization. And this video isn't going to be about criticizing Antifa's views. No, I got a lot to say about their views and about their positions, but that will be for another video for another time. I'll make that video soon. This is about how basically a domestic terrorist organization has taken over Portland, as far as it seems. First off, Antifa is a terrorist organization, but not a lot of people kind of see them as a terrorist organization. So when I decide to describe Antifa for anybody who is unaware of Antifa, I'm not going to call it that, even though that's what they are. So Antifa is an organization that claims to be opposed to fascism and that claims to fight fascism whenever they find it on the street. Even though in reality, if you see Antifa's behaviors and Antifa's actions, they really just seem to be fighting any large gathering of any conservative or any right-leaning political gatherings and protests and parades and whatnot. So they claim to be opposed by fascism. For context, fascism is described by dictionary.com as a governmental system led by a dictator having complete power, forcibly suppressing opposition and criticism, regimenting all industry, commerce, etc. They also claim by dictionary.com that it emphasizes an aggressive nationalism and often racism, which in my personal opinion, I don't necessarily think that's necessary in a fascist society, but in our most well-known and well-documented case of fascism, which is Nazi Germany, they do heavily emphasize on nationalism and racism, even though when you get to the meat of it, it was just really just one group of ethnic white people oppressing other groups of somewhat ethnic white people, because Jews aren't technically all white. But I'm not going to get into that later. And So what this sounds like, what the definition sounds like, is that in essence, in order to fight fascism, in order to be against fascism, my God, I'm stumbling my words here. In order to be against fascism, Jesus Christ, and in order to call yourself an anti-fascist, you have to be against any authority, any big government that silences oppression and enables forceful violence against anyone who doesn't comply in the slightest. We can all agree that that's what we can call fascism, right? Right. Okay. In that case, Mayor Ted Wheeler of the city of Portland, Oregon, I hereby personally denounce you and Antifa as a fascist fascist mayor. He's not a president, thank God. And as a fascist organization. Ironically, the irony is not lost on me that an organization that is literally called anti-fascism, which is the full name of Antifa, is fascist, because they do display fascist tendencies. To explain the situation for those who are unaware, recently in Portland, Antifa has been seen violently attacking Portland citizens who, any real opposer to fascism, would recognize that the citizens, the people of any nation or any nation state, as the number one priority in protecting against fascism. And they've been basically attacking these people for a good while now. The latest and most spoken about of these vicious and violent assaults was against a journalist by the name of Andy No. Many who have covered the No attacks like to remind their audience and the detractors, and presumably Antifa people who might be watching their videos, I doubt it, being that, they're radicals, they don't necessarily want to hear any opposing views, they just like echo chambers. They like to remind these people that Andy No is both a homosexual and a person of color, being that he's Asian. They do this to remind you that Antifa is not what they say that they are. They can claim that they want to be for minorities, and they're trying to protect minorities from fascism, but you cannot call yourself an anti-fascist organization. You cannot call yourself an organization that is supposed to be pro-minority when you literally attack a double minority just because of his political views and just because of what he's doing, which is basically his job, being that both Andy No and his publication lean further to the right. It's insane. It's insane that literally Andy No has been attempting to basically expose Antifa and basically to report on all of Antifa's behaviors and actions. Which, in all honesty, does he really need to do that? Because half the time at these Antifa attacks and these Antifa rallies, there are people who are recording this. There are people who are recording their attacks. It's literally everywhere, littered online. I will show you videos of it, but I honestly don't even have to. I will anyway, but I honestly don't even have to. It's insane. It's just bonkers. And to them, to Antifa, it seems as if they're not really concerned about the people. They're not really concerned about minorities. They're concerned about pushing an agenda. They're concerned about pushing an ideology by force in terms of the actual organization as a whole. But the individual members of Antifa, I suspect, and a lot of other more people who are more conservative than me can suspect that these people are just individuals who are very emasculate in a sense. Like, they're very non-masculine men who, simply being that they're uncomfortable in their own skin, seem to want to take this out on more masculine people, being that the specific incident that Andy No was caught in the middle of was a Proud Boys event. Now, Proud Boys is an organization that is dedicated to, as far as I'm aware, keeping masculinity not pure, but kind of defending masculinity, which, in my opinion, and this is coming from a person who isn't the most buff gym bro out there. I'm quite very skinny, and I'm a very, I'm a very, I'm not the masculine type. I'm not the athletic type. I mean, I'm masculine in certain areas, but that's besides the point. I recognize that masculinity is important, right? I recognize that that's important. It's important for society, and that's what Proud Boys wants to maintain. And Antifa, being that this goes against their agenda, this goes against their ideology that they want to push and maintain throughout society, they decide to attack him. And this is just insane. It's insane. I keep on saying this a lot, but it's true. It's true. You cannot call yourself pro-minority when minorities who simply disagree with you and are willing to expose you and do their goddamn jobs. You can't call yourself pro people. You're not pro people. You're pro ideology. You're pro your specific twisted, batshit, insane ideology. But Antifa being a bunch of borderline SS brown shirt thugs, it's not new. This is not news. This isn't a new thing. We've been knowing this since this organization's inception. What pisses me off is that the mayor of Portland, who by his job description is to enforce the laws and to protect its residences, decides not only to side with the terrorists who are attacking his very citizens, but actually make the police of Portland stand down. Yes, the very police who is also their job to enforce the laws and to protect their citizens, protect and serve. Whatever happened to that, they are forced to stand down. And the fact that the fact that literally all the police, as far as I'm aware, actually decided to comply with this stand down also pisses me off. This may be strange coming from a person of color myself, but I want to go against the narrative here because this is how I personally feel. I am all in support of police, right? I don't care about all this. The police like to shoot up black people. Police like to shoot up other minorities. No. The police, their job, in essence, at the end of the day, is to protect and serve. And just because some people decided not to protect and serve, some people decide not to do their jobs, doesn't mean I'm going to withhold my respect and support for the organization. But you are, en masse, deciding not to do nothing, while these thugs literally parade around these streets, attacking people, attacking elderly people, in particular. Blocking off the roads, stopping people from going to and fro how they're supposed to. You cannot block off the roads. You do not own the roads. The roads are a public service. It's a public good. Everyone owns the damn roads. Technically, when you think about it, you do not own the roads. You do not decide, you cannot cross here. You cannot drive through here just because we say so. You have to get a permit from the city, which they haven't. Oddly enough, despite the fact that Tom Wheeler is in support of these people, despite the fact that he commanded the city to stand down, he doesn't have the balls to just simply allow them to run them over, because he knows at the end of the day, if he completely just lets these people have official control of the city, he knows that the federal government's going to come after them, or at least as far as I'm aware, the federal government's supposed to come after them. Then again, the FBI, like I said earlier, has designated these groups of people as a terrorist organization. So, I don't know what the deal is. And this is insane. And it's again, for what? What, because you believe that President Donald Trump is a fascist? Tell me one fascist thing he's done. Tell me one fascist thing he said. The detainment of what? Illegal immigrants. People who are not citizens of this nation, who decided to violate our laws and to enter in this country. And they're not even being put in concentration camps. So you can stop this whole comparing it to the Holocaust thing, because they're not even put in concentration camps. If you actually see what the actual detainment centers look like, they're actually perfectly fine. I mean, it's not like mansions or whatever, but it's not like they're in bad, terrible living conditions, despite what the mainstream media wants you to believe. They're actually pretty good conditions, and just because Donald Trump, like any good world leader, not only any good president, but any good world leader would do, but decides to actually protect the interests of his citizens, of the people of his nation first, you decide that's fascism? Fine. You're entitled to that belief, no matter how stupid that is. But then to go around enforcing your beliefs on everyone else and violently attacking all these other citizens, your fellow countrymen, because of your beliefs that aren't even founded in reality in the first place. And then on top of that, to have insane people who are elected to protect their citizens decide to actually just let them do it, that's insane. But you know what? Fine. This is like really cool thing called the Bill of Rights. Right? And the Bill of Rights takes precedence over practically every other legal document in this country. And it's great because the first two, rights that are supposed to be protected by the Bill of Rights, by the Constitution, and by the federal government, which is why we have the federal government in the goddamn first place. The First Amendment. The right to freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, freedom to choose your religion, and there is a freedom of petition, right? The Antifa, right, and by proxy, Tom Weller, have basically not protected those rights. Tom Weller, being that he's a elected official, he has not protected those rights. Antifa has infringed on those rights. Antifa has infringed on the Proud Boys' rights to assemble, and he knows First Amendment rights to the press, and they've basically infringed on everyone else's right to free speech. But there's another amendment. There's another right. The Second Amendment. Oh yeah, the Second Amendment. I know how much a lot of you people might like that amendment. Basically, for those who've been living under a rock since the late 1700s, the Second Amendment is basically the right to bear arms, the right to protect yourself, and basically the right to put a bullet in the face of anyone who causes you harm. We have that right for a reason. The Founding Fathers understood that there are going to be people, there are going to be elected officials, and there are going to be organizations within this nation who are willing to infringe upon your rights. And they understood that in order to protect your rights, in order to protect your life, each individual citizen should have the right to own a firearm. Which is kind of why the Democrats want to take it away from you in the first place. It's because when you take away the rights to protect yourself, they could literally send anybody after you. Name any single dictatorship that actually allows Second Amendment rights. Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin. Banning guns. Mao. Banned guns. Pol Pot. Banned guns. And as much as you like to compare this guy to Donald Trump, Adolf Hitler himself banned guns. They banned these guns for a reason. They ban your right to protect yourself for a reason. And that reason is because they don't want you to fight back. For all the minorities out there, for all the LGBT out there, for all the blacks, Latinos, for all the Muslims out there, the Democratic Party is lying to you. They do not want to protect you. They want you to basically be at their mercy, which is why they're in support of welfare and a bunch of other stuff and basically free stuff. But I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. There's been a sentiment going on with a lot of people who are pissed off at this insanity, and the sentiment is that we're living in the clown world. And it's true. We are. Okay. That's it. That's all, comrades. God damn it.